Welcome to episode 20 of the Tool and Tie podcast. Hey, what is up, everybody? Guess who is back? Yes, it's me, Sats, rocking again, once again, on the Tool and Tie podcast. So yeah, it's true, I have been away from the podcast scene for a couple of months, and there are some pretty good reasons as to why. Primarily, my kids. So I had twins about a year ago, and they just turned a year, and at the 8-month milestone, life changed significantly. And when I say significantly, especially with two of them, it got very busy in addition to work and my wife having to go back to work as well. So it got extremely busy for us, and the podcasting just had to take kind of a back seat, unfortunately, because we had to really get up and running with our children. But fear not, I am back, and I'm back with another really good episode, actually dealing with children. So today, I actually want to talk to you about designing a nursery. And I want to share with you 5 tips that I learned when it came to designing a nursery. So obviously for new parents or parents-to-be, this is a very, very exciting time for you guys, as you know, anybody can imagine. And it really becomes real when you actually start designing that nursery. I mean, up until when you first find out that you're having a baby, it's exciting, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't hit you, and it hits you like a ton of bricks when you're actually starting to design that nursery. So today I want to give you some tips on designing a nursery. I'm going to give you some 5 tips that I feel that were really useful for us, and I want to walk you through those tips when it comes to designing your nursery. So one of the things that I found, especially us having twins, is you really have to start planning your life and planning around the baby's life significantly. So it's no longer about planning things for yourself. It's now about looking at your babies in the sense of, I've got a plan for diapers, I got a plan for bibs, hats, onesies, sleepers, you name it, and the list can go on and on and on. And I found very quickly after they were born, that being a very, very difficult task to actually organize things around in the nursery. So my first tip is actually around designing and organizing the closet in the nursery itself. If you actually go to the show notes, I've actually shown you how I built the closet for my children. A few tips. So when you're actually designing your closet, you want to do things like separate your uppers and lowers, because your baby will spit up, and they will spit up in awkward places, sometimes on their pants, sometimes on their top, and you don't want to have to go and change the entire outfit. So sorting by uppers and lowers is very, very beneficial, we found. The second thing is you want to provide yourselves enough space to store things like diapers, baskets for toys, their socks, and you want to try separating things out as much as possible so that when you actually need the item that you need, whether it be socks or whether it be a hat or whether it be a bib, you know exactly where they are. You don't want to store them together, because while your baby's crying, you're going to start panicking. Initially, especially when they're newborn babies, I did panic, and you don't want to do that. So my first tip is, when you're designing your nursery, design it in a way that you can separate almost everything and anything the baby needs. Again, from diapers to bibs to burp cloths or whatever you call them. So that's one thing. So go to the show notes, take a look at my the closet design that I came up with, and it may inspire you to come up with a design of your own. Again, I designed this specifically for twins, so it's a bit different, but you can still look at the design and see if it's something that works for you. Now, the second thing, and this is probably one of the most important things that I learned, is I'm assuming your nursery is going to have a window in it, and there's some kind of window covering over it. If you actually have blinds that have a cord, I would highly recommend you replace that with a cordless blind. So there's actually a statistic from the Consumer Product and Safety Commission Board saying that at least once a month they've had a case where there was a death related to child strangulation over the window cords. So what we purchased actually was cordless blinds that you can elevate up and down just by pushing on it up and down. And at the same time, they're also thermal blinds, so it actually keeps your house warm in the winter, and it keeps your house cool in the summer. So that's also very, very important for your child's room as well. And that brings me to my next tip, and that is you got to provide a safe or a comfortable environment for your baby. And that's where you want to install something like a humidity sensor and a temperature sensor. And ideally, and I'm going to say this in degrees Celsius because I am Canadian, but between 20 to 23 degrees Celsius is recommended for a nursery. So if you have a temperature sensor, I've actually got mine hooked up to my Nest thermostat. So if it goes below or under, it'll actually trigger the AC or the heat to basically make sure that the babies are comfortable and it's within that temperature zone. And at the same time, you also want to have something that measures humidity in your house as well. And ideal humidity is probably I'm going to say between 35 to 50%, 55% or so. If you're finding that it's out of that range, you may want to invest either in a humidifier or dehumidifier. The other tip, or tip number 4, is you may want to consider a product called Angel Care. So Angel Care is something that will either scare the crap out of you or it'll give you peace of mind. It did both for us. What Angel Care is, it's essentially a product that you put underneath the baby's mattress and it measures their breathing. So if there's ever an event where your child stops breathing, it'll actually alert you. Now there are sometimes where it falsely trips because your little one, especially when they're very tiny, will roll onto one side of the bed or one side of the crib, and it's kind of outside of the zone of what the pad can actually detect. So it doesn't detect anything, so it thinks that the baby stops breathing. And so, you start running upstairs, making sure everything's okay. But at the same time, it is a big peace of mind. There's really good reviews about it online as well. Check out the show notes. I've actually put a link to the Angel Care. So that's something that you can definitely look at into as well. And my 5th tip is to consider installing a dimmer. What you don't want to do is if your baby's crying, you don't want to put the light on full blast and completely startle them because that defeats the purpose of putting them to bed. But at the same time, you may want to consider a dimmer that has a built-in remote. Now, the remote is important because what I find is that when I'm on the rocking chair with one of my babies, if I finally get them to fall asleep, I don't want to go fumbling over to the light switch to go turn it off. I want to make sure I can turn it off right away from the rocking chair so that the the environment is already a comfortable place for the baby. And this way I can put them right in the crib and I don't have to worry about light gleaming in their eyes in case I happen to pass over the light or pass under the light, sorry. So that's another tip. And I actually recommend the Lutron Cassetta with Pico remote. And again, that's in my show notes as well. So I hope this podcast was helpful for you guys. I actually got a lot of emails from some of the subscribers saying, why did you stop podcasting? And I didn't stop podcasting. Life just kind of went fast forward. And my intention was always to come back and continue to podcast. So for those that reached out to me, thank you very much. And hopefully this episode was helpful for you guys. Again, send me an email at satsandtoolandtie.com if you got any questions or concerns. But until then, I'll talk to you next time. Take care.